Welcome everybody today. As people start joining us here, we're going to give people a few seconds to join our webinar here, how to 3x leads with SEO content. And I know I'm pretty stoked to learn more about this. So we are also broadcasting live on Facebook. So if you're joining us through Facebook, thank you so much for joining us. If you're watching this, if you're watching this tomorrow or the next day or 3 months from now, welcome to the replay. Thanks for coming back around. But yeah, we have Greg Dineo here, and we're going to be talking about SEO, and so I think it's going to be a great conversation. So yeah, we'll be rocking and rolling here, and why don't we just jump in and we can get things started. So again, thank you for joining us on today's Guidepost Webinar, how to 3x leads with SEO content. You know, Mission Suite, we work a lot with small business owners. We work a lot with solo entrepreneurs, with people that are out there just trying to kind of find their way through this whole world of sales and marketing, whether it's through networking, through referrals, through, good old fashioned sales efforts, or through digital marketing efforts like SEO. And this is where when Greg came to me and said, "Hey, I got an idea for an SEO webinar that I think we should do." It's like, you know what? Absolutely, because SEO is one of those things that always just feels like a mystery, right? I mean, it always just feels like there's a little bit of sprinkle of magic somewhere, and then eventually somebody figures it out, and that's how it works. But as we're going to learn here today, there's actually quite a bit more going into it. So as you probably know by now, I'm Ian Campbell. I am the CEO of Mission Suite. And joining me today is Greg Dineo. He is the founder of Content GUPPY, a marketing agency that specializes in creating SEO content that can turn your company's blog into your company's biggest lead gen channel. You can find Greg on Twitter at Greg Dineo. That's DIGNEO. Excuse me. And I'm sure, he's going to tell you at the end of this how to find him in other ways as well. So stay tuned here all the way through to the end, and you'll learn more about Greg and what he can do for you. But before we jump in, I want to make sure to address a couple of housekeeping items. This is, obviously this is an educational webinar. And we want questions, right? We want you to let us know if you have questions. We'll take sessions throughout the session today, or we'll take questions throughout the session today. Excuse me. And of course, we can always open up to Q&A at the end if anybody's got some bottled up that they're not that they just don't want to interrupt with. But if you do have questions, do us a favor, use that Q&A feature in Zoom so that we can make sure that we can address them when they come up. It's a lot easier if you're using that Zoom Q&A feature, so that instead of the chat or anything like that, because it keeps them all contained pretty well. If you're watching the replay of this, definitely let us know your questions in the comments of the webinar. This is going to be on Facebook and on YouTube, so if you're watching it there, you can definitely let us know your questions in those comments too. I'll make sure that Greg is tagged in both so that he can jump in and answer those questions as they do come up. And now, without further ado, I am actually going to pass the mic over to Greg Dineo, and I'll shut my camera off so you're looking at his pretty face and his gorgeous slide deck here. So, Greg, my friend, take it away.
Thanks so much, Ian. Like Ian said, I am Greg, and this webinar is all about how to 3x leads with SEO content. So we could jump right on into it. But first, if you're just totally new here and to SEO, and you don't have any idea what SEO is other than 3 letters of an alphabet, SEO content, as I define it, is content that is designed to rank on the first page in Google, thereby attracting visitors to your site month after month. And part 2 of this is that it's content that's designed to convert those visitors into leads and sales. And I'm going to show you how to do that in this presentation. So who am I? That's me, or you can look in the camera. But back in 2015, where things kind of get interesting for you, I started at a software called Time Doctor. we were a software startup. And this just a quick background because just for context, this is an app that helps employees manage remote teams. And our mandate was to get leads. And so one of the ways that we were a 3-person marketing team at the time. We had a very minimal budget. And so one of our mandates was to do content marketing. And so what I'm going to do is quickly tell you the story about one of my absolute favorite posts that I ever wrote. So this is called, this post I wrote was called "The Rise of Slack and the Death of Skype." And I actually made a GIF of this post because I spent so much of our budget. I spent like $2,500 on this budget. I had a data scientist go into our app and kind of pull data. As you could see, we had an image that literally changed based off of what you were reading. And so I wanted to create a GIF to show you really, I was so proud of this post, and I thought it was so cool. And so we went to go and publish it, and how do you think it did? If you guessed not very well, then you were right. So we published it, and mind you, we probably had a database of 30,000 people at the time. And if you look, I mean, maybe we got 150 people on our best day. So it did not do well at all. And then after the first couple of days of promotion, first week of promotion, as you can see, it was lost to the internet forever, and nobody ever sees this post that we spent, about $2,500 on. So, my bosses, Rob and Liam, who was working for at the time, were like, we have to do something different. And so that's when I kind of discovered SEO content and we embraced SEO content as a team. So I'm going to tell you the story about another post that I was pretty proud of, and it was called "Free Timesheet Templates in Excel, PDF, Word formats." And all we did was we created timesheet templates. So a part of the feature of our app, our time tracking app, was a timesheet template. So what we did was we said we were going to give away this functionality for free that people could do manually. And we didn't spend nearly as much time. All the software we used was pretty much free. And, we spent a few $100 on the entire thing, significantly less than the $2,500 we spent on the other post. And here's how it did. So we launched it in December of 2016. And I collected data on this post up until 2019 when I kind of lost track of it. But as you can see, a full 3 years later, 2.5 to 3 years later, this post, not only was it doing much better, but we were hitting months where we were getting 10,000 visitors a month to this one single blog post. And so the cool part about this is a percentage of people came to this post and said, you know what? I don't want to do manual time tracking. I just want to buy an app. And so we would get probably 30 to 50 people signing up to try our software from this one post every single month. And so this is one of the first posts that we ever ranked, and I absolutely fell in love with the concept of SEO. So by the time I left Time Doctor in February 2021, a couple months ago, the traffic from Google was hitting 400,000 visitors, and that was just to the blog. And then we were getting about 8,000 leads a month from the blog. So we were able to significantly grow traffic over the course of about 5 years. So my goal for the end of this webinar is you're going to know how to create and rank a blog article that drives qualified traffic to your site and converts that traffic into leads. And then you could just repeat this process over and over and over again. SEO is not really that, what's the saying? It's not difficult, but it's hard, or it's simple, but not easy. One of those things. It's not a difficult concept to grasp, really, but it does take a lot of hard work. And so I will break down all these steps for you. Before we get started, again, if you are totally new to SEO, I just want to cover a few key terms here. The first one is SERP. That stands for Search Engine Results Page, and basically it's page 1 of Google. So if anytime somebody says, oh, we have to look at the SERP, they're basically saying we need to look at what's on page 1 of Google right now. Keyword difficulty is how hard it is to rank a keyword in the top 10 of Google on a scale of 0 to 100. Domain authority is how powerful your website is perceived to be. Backlinks. These are sites that link back to your website, and this is the currency of the web. Very generally speaking, the more backlinks you attract to your site, the higher it will rank. And then search volume is how many searches per month a particular keyword is getting. So here's the 5 steps, okay? And we're going to go into each of these 5 steps right now. But first step is SEO strategy, keyword research, SERP analysis, there's that word again, write content, and then get backlinks. If you do these 5 steps over and over again, there's no reason why you also cannot have a blog that is going to get to 400,000 visitors a month. Some people, it might take longer for some people depending on their industry or their or how proficient they are at writing. But beyond that, if you just keep doing these 5 steps over and over again, you are going to get a lot of traffic. So let's talk about step 1, and this is the SEO strategy. And in this, you're going to want to fill out your funnel. So this is the typical marketing funnel. You have the top of the funnel where you're going to attract your ideal client, people who might not be ready to buy your product or service, but have money to spend. Okay. Middle of the funnel is your ideal client who has a problem that you solve, but again, they're probably not ready to buy. And then the bottom of the funnel content are the people who are ready to buy from you right now. And in this presentation, we're going to focus on the bottom of funnel content. So again, so top of the funnel, an example might be a tools post, a time doctor. One of our ideal customer were people who worked remotely. So we talked about like online collaboration tools because we knew that those folks were using online collaboration tools and we're always looking for better ways to collaborate online. So we wrote a blog post about that. Some middle of the funnel posts are how to. So you know, a 7-step content development strategy to grow to 130,000 visitors a month. Again, how like this person has a problem that they need more traffic to their site, but they're probably not ready to hire a marketing agency right now. But in this how-to post, we can introduce like, you know, the service. And then bottom of the funnel post, this is my favorite post to write really, and they're called alternatives posts. At Time Doctor, one of our biggest competitors was Toggle, a company called Toggle. So we wrote an article called The 7 Best Toggle Alternatives. And I want to just quickly say that not all content is created equal. And I want to give an example of HubSpot alternatives, this keyword. So somebody is like, hey, I want to find some HubSpot alternatives. So if you're the mission suite like Ian is, you are a CRM marketing automation software. HubSpot is a direct competitor to you, or maybe they might be an indirect competitor, but they're still a competitor, right? And then, so HubSpot alternatives is bottom of the funnel content. So if somebody's looking for a HubSpot alternative, they are probably ready to buy or at least demo something today. Okay. Now, Content Guppy, on the other hand, still in the marketing space, but we're a marketing agency. HubSpot is just one of many tools that my customers use. So this would be a top of the funnel piece of content. So I just wanted to point out that this one keyword can be highly relevant to one type of customer or one type of business, but not as relevant to another type of business. And I just wanted to quickly point that out. So step 2 is keyword research. I guess before we get into step 2, are there any questions?
So a couple questions here real quick.
Sure.
So first of all, you know, you were kind of showing the tracking image of, or the analytics image rather, yep, from the successful post. It just kept growing and growing and growing.
Yes.
So is all SEO content evergreen like that, or at least should it be evergreen?
It is evergreen. You do have to do some maintenance on it, but yes, it is evergreen. Yep. Okay. So it like an evergreen tree, like you're gonna have to prune that evergreen tree once in a while to keep its shape and have it look beautiful. Every now and again, like you have to go back into a post like that and just update it with some new data or some new, content, or maybe, have to build a link every now and again and we'll get into link building in a while, but you do have to do some maintenance once every year or so. It's not like tons of work either. Yeah.
No, but it shouldn't be kind of continuing on to that. We shouldn't be focusing on time specific content, but rather stuff that can kind of last the test of time, right?
Just from a strictly SEO standpoint, correct.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes. Yep.
And then, I'm in a pretty competitive industry, right? I mean,
Yes, you are.
right? I mean, I'm in that kind of an industry, and I'm competing with the massive budgets of Salesforce and HubSpot and whatnot. So how can someone like me actually rank in that world?
I am going to show you that right now, because actually we go into a little bit of a mission suite kind of we go mission suite specific a little bit here, so you're going to get some cool ideas.
Love it.
So let's talk about that alternative post, because it is my favorite post to write. And as Ian kind of teed me up here, we didn't actually rehearse this, which is funny, but as Ian teed me up here, this is my favorite post to write, and I'm going to show you why. First of all, these posts are super easy to write. Like, I mean, they are pretty you can mindlessly crank these out over and over again. Basically, it's if you're a tool, if you're a software, or if you have a product of any kind, all this is basically a list of your competitors. And if you're a service, then chances like Content GUPPY is a marketing agency, this is just going to be a list of tools in your industry. Like, for me, it was Hubspot Alternatives. It's just a list of tools in my industry. So, we're going to, but it's very, very, very easy to write. These are really easy to rank. So Ian is a marketing automation software. Remember when I said keyword difficulty? The keyword difficulty score for marketing automation software is 67. Ahrefs, which is the tool I'm using here, estimates that you'll need 174 backlinks to rank in the top 10 for this keyword. Now let's go to HubSpot Alternatives. The keyword difficulty is 16. Ahrefs estimates that you'll need 18 backlinks in order to rank for this. Much easier keyword to rank for, right? 18 is way doable. 174 is going to take you a long time if you don't have a huge budget. So much more doable to rank these alternative posts. And you're going to get the same exact type of client, somebody who's looking for a marketing automation software. They get decent search traffic, and I'm going to show you this in a second. This is for Toggle Alternatives. It gets 100 searches per month. It doesn't sound like a lot, but I'm going to show you the actual search data for Toggle Alternatives. We were getting anywhere between 200 to 400 visitors per month. This was month after month, and these are highly relevant. So I kind of want to break down like a quick back of the napkin. You could kind of go through this, but if we were averaging 300 visitors a month, that meant that the Toggle Alternatives post, just that one post, was adding $6,000 of customer value per month. And you could just read this real quick as I talk about this, but that's why these posts convert so well, because they're literally people looking for the product that you have and are unhappy with the current solution that either they're using, or they're unhappy with the biggest brand in your space. So this was the breakdown of of just that one post. Now, we were kind of smart, and we did one really smart thing at Time Doctor. We didn't actually go out we started to write these over and over again. I would love to tell you that these were the only 6 on the blog, but there are dozens of these alternative posts, right? Because they're literally a license to print money. Every time we wrote one, we knew that we were going to add $3,000 to $6,000 of customer lifetime value every single month without fail. So yeah, at first we didn't go after a blog that was like one of those knowledge, we're going to share all this amazing knowledge and brand ourselves. Like we needed to make money, so we wrote all of these posts, dozens of them. If you went to Time Doctor, you could check them out. I also, on Content GUPPY, write them all the time as well, even though I don't want to, even though I don't have a tool, I'm just a service. But Ahrefs Alternatives is an SEO tool, same with SEMrush Alternatives. Basically, if you're looking for an SEO tool, you're interested in SEO, and I want you on my site. And that's kind of the point, the purpose of this, of me writing them. MailChimp Alternatives, again, if you're looking for an email marketing software, it's a bit of a stretch, but we could still, I'd still like to nurture that lead into eventually, if you're interested in a MailChimp alternative, then chances are you're interested in marketing and building your email list and getting traffic and all that good stuff. So they work, even I write them on Content Guppy, I write them everywhere. I absolutely love these posts. Again, they're a license to print money. So how do you find a good alternative? And it's really not that difficult to do. The first thing you need to do is identify your competitors. So if you are the Mission Suite like Ian, your competitors are Infusionsoft, Pardot, HubSpot, or if you're Time Doctor, your Hubstaff, your Toggle, Rescue Time, these were our competitors. And so who are your chief competitors, right? That's one way. Now, if you run a service business, all you have to do is think about what tools do your customers use, right? So my customers use email marketing software, SEO software, blogging software, marketing automation software. And then who are the 800-pound gorillas in each tool? So for email marketing software, it's MailChimp. For SEO software, it's Ahrefs and SEMrush, WordPress and Webflow for blogging. And then again, for marketing automation, it's Pardot, HubSpot, and Infusionsoft. So I just came up for as a service business with approximately 10-ish or so, didn't do this math yet, 3, 6, 11 alternative posts that I could write just for me. All right, so the second thing you want to do is find the search parameters. So we're going to look at the search volume and the keyword difficulty, and I use a tool called Ahrefs. It's $7 for 7-day trial. You could literally do everything that I'm going to show you in those 7 days, so you don't have to go and pay an exorbitant amount of money to do this. So you could do this all within the trial. But basically what you're going to do is you're going to type in the alternative, like HubSpot Alternatives, Infusionsoft Alternatives, Pardot competitors. Sometimes competitors gets more search volume than alternatives. Not sure why, but just play around with that. And as you can see, you look at these, excuse me. You can look at these search volume, these parameters. I'm looking at the keyword difficulty, how hard it is to rank. So 16, 2, and 0, which is really nice. And then you're going to look at the number of traffic, so 460 and 70, that's the amount of search volume. And then the other thing I really want to show you is the cost per click here. HubSpot, if you were going to bid on this in Google, it would cost you $19 for HubSpot Alternatives. For Infusionsoft Alternatives, if you're going to bid on this in Google for AdWords, $10, and Pardot, $25 per click, right? And you're going to get these clicks for free. You're not going to pay money for them. And so you're going to save a ton of money on AdWords budget right now, but just by writing these alternatives posts. Third, after you do that, you're going to score your keywords. I have a link to this score sheet that you could grab at the end of the presentation. But basically, this allows me to prioritize which posts I want to write first, second, and then third, and so on and so forth. So I just enter in the difficulty, and it prints out a score for me. So I just prioritize, like I would prioritize Pardot competitor first because, again, it's super easy to rank. And then Infusionsoft, and then HubSpot is going to take a little bit more work. So it just gives me some sort of prioritization. So after we do the key, well, let's see. Does anybody have any questions on the keyword research?
So, yeah. So you mentioned the let me bring my gallery view back up. Here we go. So you mentioned Ahrefs.
Yes.
Right? It's a tool that that I've used in the past too, and really great tool. And it looks like they've actually like done a lot of work to build it out, which is really cool.
Yeah.
What other tools are there that I can be using for something like this to do the research and to figure out how to, well, it looks like you're going to dive into the writing the content in a bit, so we'll hold off on the content question until then. But yeah, so what other, are there any other tools that we should be focusing on?
So there is SEMrush, which is a good, there's Moz, which I've used, and then there is Ubersuggest, Ubersuggest, all one word. And that used to be free. I don't know if it is still, but might be worth checking out, especially if it is free. I was finding that the data there wasn't that great, so I kind of steered away from it. But I do use Ahrefs pretty religious. Ahrefs is my go-to tool of choice.
Great.
So it is the one I could speak the most proficient about.
Cool. And then we have some other questions about backlinking and things like that. But again, we're going to dive into that here in a little bit. And then, of course, the really fun question about how much should I budget for all this stuff, because there's so much to do, right? But but we can, obviously we can talk about that concept. Conceptually, not specifically, conceptually. We can talk about that later on too. But that was only keyword research question that we had.
Yep. All right. So we'll talk about the SERP analysis then. We will we'll do this really quick. And so, what is the SERP analysis? What is a SERP? Again, I just want to remind you, it is the search engine results page. And again, basically it is the first page of Google. So why do we need to analyze the first page of Google? And the reason is because you want to make sure that your content is more thorough than your competition. There's a saying in boxing that if you want to beat the champ, you have to knock them out. And the same thing is true in SEO. The rankings that are the incumbent are there because Google really likes them. And in order to outrank them, you have to be better than them. So you have to knock out the champ, in other words. So I did if you're doing an alternatives post, and another reason I love these, doing a SERP analysis is really easy. So if you're doing a toggle alternatives SERP, all you really need to do to make this more thorough is look at the number of in each list here. So you have 14 here, top 5, 8, 11, 20. And I'm going to show you something pretty interesting here. So at one point in time, Time Doctor was at the top of this. We were number 1 or 2. Now, after I left, this is why you have to maintain your posts, like we were talking about. Our Time Doctor post is at 10 now, right? Why is it a 10? Because these lists are way more thorough, right? 14, 8, 11, 20. More thorough than ours. So if I was going to do a toggle alternatives post, I would at minimum start with 21, just because I want to beat this one right here, this 20 alternatives to toggle. So I want to do 21 just to make it more thorough. With list posts, thorough means longer. That's not always the case in every aspect of SEO, but with list posts, a lot of times that is, especially with alternatives posts. Okay. So after we do that SERP analysis, again, it's pretty easy with an alternatives post. You have to write content. And this is also pretty easy to do with an alternatives post. That's, again, why I love them so much. So,
Greg, we have a quick question here.
Sure.
Just for some clarity.
Yes.
So for list post, right? You mentioned list post. Is that a specific kind of web page? Can you kind of dive into like what you mean when you say a list post?
Sure. So a list post is basically like it could be anything from 21 toggle alternatives, and you're just going to list a bunch of 21 of those tools. It could be like 10 ways to increase website traffic, and it's just a list of 10 ways to increase website traffic. So it's basically a number, 7, 10, 21, 100, whatever it is, and then a benefit to that thing.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah,
And
so it's a type of blog post, I guess is the
awesome.
way to put it.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And then just one more question, because I did see on that SERP page that you were showing that there are some posts that are outranking the toggle posts that have less that you know are pretty low as far as the number of alternatives that they're listing, but they also say things like for 2021. Is that something that Google looks at too, or is it just because it's so time relevant? There are more people backlinking to them.
So there's could be a number of different reasons why we were just looking at the SERP, but there could be a number of reasons why these are ranked higher. A couple reasons might be, so for 2021, like 11 toggle alternatives 2021, 5 for 2021 here. Yes, that does help, like, because it lets Google know that this is relevant for today, like right now, this year. But there's other reasons that these could rank higher. Domain authority, in other words, these posts could be more perceived higher, more backlinks to these types of to the posts, that kind of thing. So time on site there's a bunch of ranking factors. I think there's like 200 of them, but we were just looking at, how to make this more thorough. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Cool.
yep.
Thanks.
Yep. So there's a number of different reasons why these would rank higher. But generally speaking, they're higher domain authority and they have more links to them, pointing to them, and they're more thorough. Those three things.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about writing the content. And again, writing content for this type of post is super easy. And again, it's also why I love writing these posts, because you could crank them out over and over again. And I have a template for these, and I'll show you an image in a second. But basically, I like to do these 4 parts. Well, the 4th part is optional. Have a 100-word summary of the product or of the tool, product, whatever it is. Have an image of it. Throw in some customer testimonials that you scrape from that company's website. And then if you want to put pricing in there, then go ahead and do that. The only problem with pricing is companies change their pricing so frequently that the post could be out of date tomorrow. And so I very rarely do, but when I see it on other people's alternatives pages and posts, I really greatly appreciate it. So it is optional for me. And yeah, so that's why, but it does take some work, because pricing becomes obsolete very quickly. So I will show you this. We have an image here. This is a section of one of my from one of my alternatives post campaign monitor is a MailChimp alternative. So I have the image, sorry, the summary, which is my 100 words or so. Then I literally stole these testimonials borrowed these testimonials from the company's website. And then at the bottom, I do have a link to the site. So that way, we're giving attribution and credit to where credit is due. So that way we're not plagiarizing or anything like that. So that's really it for how to write these. And then I just would do 10, 21, this exact same thing over and over again for the post. And, so I would do it for like ConvertKit, Aweber, get response, so on and so forth, for as many as I find, and I would just have them write it out. The other cool thing about this is you could outsource this very easily to a VA. So if you are not interested in doing all this work, that's totally cool, because you're not really doing anything groundbreaking. You are simply having these 4 elements, and they're very easily outsourced to somebody who who can do this for you if you don't have time to do this yourself. And then, very important, make sure your product is the first on the list. That is the secret to getting high conversions. People never read past the top 3 products, ever. Well, that's not exactly true, but we did heat maps and studies and things like that, and it was something like 80% of the people stopped after the 3rd product on the list. So I know people are like, hey, I don't want to quote unquote brag about my product as being first on the list. Like, do not worry about that at all. put it on the top. Most people who come to this page from your site aren't even going to realize it's your site. So don't sweat it. Just put your product first on the list, okay? Because that is the only way to ensure that everybody's going to see it and you're going to maximize the number of conversions. We tried various spots. We tried third because we wanted to be humble. We tried sixth again because we were like, oh, let's not brag about ourselves, but put it first.
Well, and these are your marketing dollars that you're spending on this, right? I mean,
Exactly.
The goal is to get people to see you first and foremost, right?
Exactly. But some people are like, oh, I don't want to be like, I've had this conversation. Like, should we put ourselves first? Like, we don't want to come off as biased. No. You are biased. Like, you're proud of your product or service, right? Like this is your thing. Like, be proud, be first, be proud, and, have everybody see it. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
And you definitely just answered the other question that came up in this too, about why I should share other products on my list, right? If I'm talking about other people, why would I do that? But it sounds like, you're in danger of advertising for other people because people don't read that far.
No, they don't. But if you're like, hey, like the second person, if you're like, if you're worried about the top, you don't have to worry about 4 and below, but if you're worried about the top 3, like you could always find an affiliate link and just put it in there and you can still make money from it. So yeah, there is a reason you can do that as well. And again, if you're running a service business, the amount of people and I don't do affiliates on my site for some reason, like it's a personal preference of mine for right now, but the amount of people who come up and say, hey, could you would you have an affiliate link on your site for Ahrefs Alternatives or MailChimp Alternatives? Like, I get probably like 3 of those a week. Sure. And so it's an additional revenue stream too, if you really want it to be. But yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So last but not least, we're going to talk about getting backlinks. And most SEOs, like most content that is super competitive, you're going to have like this huge backlink campaign, and you're going to have this entire outreach process and all that good stuff. Again, I just want to emphasize the reason why I love these posts on alternatives is because you don't really require tons of backlinks in order to rank them. So we were kind of like looking at these for, these were the posts that we've been talking about a lot. And, you need 18 for HubSpot, that's the most. And then you need 0 for Pardo. You need 2 or 3 from Infusionsoft, 4 or 5 from Rescue Time. So, but this, and I know I'm showing you the marketing industry and the time tracking industry predominantly, but I find this to be the case no matter what industry I work in. Alternatives posts, competitors posts, whatever, they just do not require tons of backlinks in order to rank. And if your site is already getting traffic to it, plus it has some semblance of domain authority, you could probably, for some of these that are 0, 2, 4, 6, like you probably don't even need to get a backlink to them at all in order to rank in the top 10. So that's why I love these posts. Again, I know I keep harping that why I love these posts, but yes. So again, I'm going to show you how to get the requisite backlinks for this type of a post right now. So first thing you want to do is ping your network. And the easiest way to acquire links is to hit up your network. Simply just ask your friends if they'll link to you. It's that easy. Most of them will say yes, but you also don't want to burn these bridges. So, or burn these relationships out. So find the most high value or most difficult to acquire links to, and go after that one. So in Ian's case, I would go and ping all my friends about the HubSpot Alternatives post, and I would just do Pardo and Infusionsoft on my own, and just have the HubSpot Alternatives be the one I go and prioritize with my friends. So yes, ping your network. Second way, guest post. Such an undervalued and appreciated way, I guess, to get underrated way to get a link. Most people, when they when they think about guest posting, they think about driving traffic, and that was true in 2007, 2008. You were able to get a lot of traffic through guest posting. I would say that that is not the case anymore. The number one reason to write a guest post is because it's a very quick and easy way to acquire a link. And so to find a bunch of places to guest post, all you have to do is write your industry, Google your industry, and then write for us. So for instance, marketing and write for us, time tracking and write for us, productivity and write for us, mermaid tails and write for us. And you'll find an entire host of sites that are like, we want you to write for us. So this is write for us, write for us, write for us, Chatter, Buzz, Blog. So, and all you have to do is just apply to them with this email script that I'm going to show you right now. So this is the exact email script that I use to get guest posts, and you could read it. I have a link to this as well. You could read it here as I talk about it. But basically what you want to do is first name, always the first name. If you can't find the first name, then don't reach out to that person. But like, I get tons of guest posts like, hi, Content Guppy team, hi, such and such. Like, you could do hi class, hi Greg and team is fine. Hi Ian and team, hi Ian, hi Greg. That, you know, leave it at that, but be personable. So, and then talk about your guest posting idea, your topic. You're going to do some research and see, make sure that they didn't write about it on their blog already. So come up with your topic, and then have a brief example of what you want to talk about in the topic. So for, you know, I talk very quickly, I sum it up like my top 4 or 5 bullet points, and basically it's 2 sentences long. The third sentence is, I'd love to know what you think. Thanks, Greg. And that's it. So again, I will, you could have this email script at the end. I'll show you how to get that as well. And that is link. That's really how I will build links to this, to this alternatives post.
So,
and so those are the 5 steps, but yeah, go ahead.
So do you, you know, there are all sorts of software tools out there, you know, Ninja this, Battle that, and
Yes.
Get Links, and you know, whatever. I mean, there's also there's 100 of them out there that
Yes.
are supposed to help you get backlinks, right?
Yeah.
And for some reason, they all seem to reference battle for, you know, some sort of a battle thing. But you know, there's so many of them, right? I mean, are they worth it, or is it really as simple as just Googling CRM write for us?
If you need hundreds of links to a post, then yes, they're worth it.
Okay.
Because you want to like automate you're going to have to like automate the cold outreach strategy and have follow-up emails and things like that. And you're going to want to find specific domains that are linking to your keyword already and all this stuff. Like, so there is, so if you need those hundreds of links, then yes, you want to have all the tools in place, and they do help.
Mm.
However, guest post, so there is a problem with link building. Okay. People who are, who have publications, blogs, and they have like Content Guppy. I have a very small blog, and I probably get 7 to 10 link requests every single day. So you can imagine if if there's a bigger blog like a HubSpot or something like that, they get hundreds, maybe even thousands of link requests every single day. Mm-hmm. The interesting thing is that the reason why you want to write a guest post, and the reason why guest posting works so well for link building, is because you're providing value. In most link building scenarios, somebody is asking me to do work and giving me nothing in return. Right. Whereas, right, like, hey, Ian, could you link to this article? Well, you're like, I have 1,000 things to do today. I don't have the time to link to your article. However, hey, Ian, I have this really amazing guest post that I think is going to bring traffic to your blog or website. It's going to convert visitors. Would you mind? Would it be okay if I write to it and put a link into back to my site for it from it? You're much more likely to say yes to that. Mm-hmm. So, you know, because I'm giving you a value in exchange.
Yeah.
And so that's why guest posting works really well. And you do not need software in order to write guest posts.
Right.
But they are time consuming, right? Like whether you outsource it or you're doing it yourself, they do take up time, but they are the best and most efficient way to acquire a link.
Does the link to the article have to be like a contextual kind of a link, like where you say, you know, for example, when I talk about the top alternatives to HubSpot or whatever, does that text have to be the link to that top alternatives article?
It's best that it is. Yes,
Okay.
it usually is. Yep. You don't want to force it in there. Like, so for instance, maybe I'm just talking about, for instance, time tracking software can really help you. I would just link to my Toggle Alternatives,
Right.
you know, post in that time tracking software anchor or text. But, you know, the more contextual you could get it, the better. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And then Karen is asking, you know, if you're looking for people to write posts for their site, or if you're looking to write posts for other people's sites. And it sounds like the intention is you know, for sure, just for you to get content onto other people's sites.
Yes.
So, yeah, right.
So that I could put a link into my content, that I could put a link into that content back to my site. Correct.
Right. So how important is that domain's authority? So, you know, like if I'm, you know,
the higher the better is basically the way because guest posting does take time, and it does take some effort and everything like that. I personally would not write a guest post on something that is less than a domain authority of 50.
Okay.
Again, it just takes way too much time and effort in order to do it. Yeah.
And so that has to go into the research.
That does go into the research as well. Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And Karen's got to follow to the question, to her question about, is inviting people to write on our sites helpful at all? Is it even worth doing?
Yeah, it is. It definitely is worth doing because you're basically getting free content. The only caveat is a lot of the times the content is not very good. So if you could find somebody who can write good content for you, and they've proven, like, you know, hey, could I see some writing samples? And then always have a editorial guidelines. It has to be 2,500 words long. It can't be salesy. You need subheadlines, so on and so forth. Then yeah, that's a great way to get some free content. Sure.
Because Google still loves content, right? It's just that
loves content.
Yep. Very specific traffic to specific content.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Awesome. I think that is it for the questions for the moment.
Okay. That's actually the end. So I believe, oh yeah, so next step. So if you want the score sheet that we talked about earlier, the email script, and you could have this deck, go to contentguppy.com toolkit. And if you want to work with us and see if we're actually somebody that you can work with, just go to contentguppy/get-started.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, Greg, thank you so much. This was an awesome conversation. I learned a lot personally, and you know, awesome. I've got this like running list of marketing tasks that I have to add to my plate. That's, you know, never quite full enough, apparently, right?
Never.
So, yeah, right. But yeah, I love this. This is awesome. So thank you so much. To everyone that joined us, thank you very much. We appreciate you being here. For those of you watching the replay or watching this online after today here, we'll make sure that these links to Greg's site are also in the comments in the description of the video, so that you can capture that as well. But with that, I will say once again, Greg, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody, thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time around. Cheers.
Bye.